there, which is where all of the resources are on the website. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is share my screen. And now, does everybody see the website? Okay. So this is the main website. There are two websites. This is the main website where all the resources are to conduct the program. And the way that you tell that this is the main website is the big banner on top, which has the International Space Station Against a Black Sky over Earth. Now, we are on the home page, and what you'll notice on every page are 2 rows of navigation buttons. Now, let me say that the focus of everything we've been talking about today is student teams moving forward with getting up to speed on the microgravity curriculum and designing their experiments and writing their proposals. And the idea behind this chapter is to tell everybody where all of the microgravity curricular resources live. And we expect the students to be self-directed learners to go to this website and come get up to speed quickly on all of those resources. So if the focus is experiment design and proposal writing, let me tell you that the second row of navigation buttons has nothing to do with experiment design and proposal writing. So you don't need to do anything with the second row of navigation buttons. So I've gotten rid of half the content of this website right out of the gate. But just for completeness, let me tell you what's there. If you want to read over 1,500 media articles that we know about for this program, you can go to SSEP in the news and read the articles mission by mission, all 1,500 plus. If you want to read about our strategic partners, you can. You can read about our national partners. You can read mission by mission a bio of every one of the Step 2 National Review Board members that selected the flight experiments. And for community program directors, the first tab here is a page called Guidance for Setting Up a Step 1 Review Board in Your Community. So this is how you set up your review board. You can download logos and banners. You can go to our organization website and see our other programs. You can see our international website and see what we do internationally. But none of that has anything to do with experiment design and proposal writing. So you could blow the whole second row off. Everybody with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me on that. Okay, now let's go to the top row, which is all the important stuff. And let me tell you that there are 3 different categories of buttons on the top row. And so you might want to write this down. Let me tell you what the 3 categories are. The first category are the first 2 buttons. The second category are the next 4 buttons. And the third category are the last 2 buttons. So 2 buttons, 4 buttons, 2 buttons, 3 categories. The first category, home and more on SSEP, are what you read after this Zoom. And so you first go to the home page. So we go back to the home page. And if you scroll down, it says this is a summary, an SSEP executive summary of the program. So when you read the home page on that first button, it gives you a summary of how SSEP works. And it reinforces what I told you in chapter 1 today, talking about how SSEP works. Then you read the second button, more on SSEP. And when you click on it, you'll see it says more on SSEP, a deeper dive. And this puts flesh on the bones relative to the executive summary. So when you read the first 2 pages, the first 2 buttons here, it gives you a very full understanding of how SSEP as a program works. So the first category, those first 2 buttons, are a grounding in SSEP. You read them, you come up to speed on SSEP, and you're done with those 2 buttons. Everybody understand what I just said there? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Okay, now let's skip the next 4 and go to the last 2. Well, there's a really robust blog, so if you want to read blog posts, you can by going to the SSEP blog button. And if you want to send a delegation to the conference, you might want to read about the conference experience. And so you can go to the 2025 conference page at NASA Kennedy Space Center, and it provides an overview of the experience. It provides an understanding of what the expectation is for every student team participating in terms of an oral presentation and the length of a presentation, that it's a PowerPoint. You can see the agenda for the conference. You can read about every oral presentation that was done at the conference. So the conference button is where you can learn about the conference experience. But that category of the last two buttons, they're cool, they're relevant, but they're not necessary on a day-to-day basis to do experiment design and proposal writing. That's the four central buttons: the flight opportunities button, the teacher resources button, the contact button, and the community network website button. So let's go to flight opportunities. And let me tell you, the curriculum is divided into two flavors. There are web pages that are part of the curriculum, and there are documents that are downloadable in the document library. So if I hover over flight opportunities, that main page, you will see a bunch of subpages, mission by mission by mission. And the reason for that is we have multiple missions happening at the same time in different phases of their life cycle. Your mission 21, which just started. So if I hover over mission 21, which is the mission 21 main page, you see three sub-tabs show up: the critical timeline page, the mini laboratory operations page, and the mission patch art and design competition page. So these three sub-pages and the main mission 21 page are 4 pages of your curriculum. You need to know information that's there. If I click on the mission 21 main page, that's where I'll find out what rocket we're using, the rocket to return to Earth, where the experiments are going to take place, how many experiments are going to be up there for mission 21. But you see a lot of red text with a to be determined, because we don't know a lot of that information yet. And as we get that information, we will populate this page. If I now go to flight opportunities and I hover over mission 21 and then I go to critical timeline, well, this is the bulleted list of all the milestones and deadline dates that I was telling you about before, and you have to pace against this critical timeline, which includes the flight operations phase for optimizing the experiment, flight safety review, handing the experiment into Houston, and the last bullets are when the experiment gets back to your flight team for harvesting and analysis. If I go to the flight opportunities button, hover over mission 21, now go to the mini laboratory operations page, this is the operating manual for the mini lab. You need to know this backwards and forwards right out of the gate, because you need to know what you can do and what you can't do in terms of experiment design. So it'll provide you 3 different configurations for the mini lab: 1 volume, 2 volumes, or 3 volumes. It provides examples of experiments that are appropriate for each of those 3 configurations. It provides you an understanding that a control experiment on the ground is essential. So it talks about the control experiment. It also says you're getting the real flight hardware. You're assembling the mini lab, you're filling it, you're sealing it, you're shipping it to Houston, and when the flight experiment comes back down, you're harvesting and doing the analysis. So you're getting the flight hardware. It tells you what days on orbit you can ask astronauts to do something, and when you can't ask astronauts to do something over the 4 to 6 weeks on orbit. It tells you what you can ask the astronauts to do and what you cannot ask the astronauts to do. It tells you what you can fly in, it tells you the volumes and the dimensions of the mini lab. It tells you what you can fly and what you cannot fly. So if you want to fly radioactive material, that ain't going to happen. If you want to fly concentrated acids or bases, that ain't going to happen. If you want to fly a biological with a biosafety level 2 or higher, that ain't going to happen. So you need to know what you can fly before you design your experiment. It also tells you that you're going to have to turn your experiment in 2.5 weeks before launch, and the launch could be delayed. It'll take 24 to 72 hours to get back to your flight team for harvesting. And so the conclusions from this timeline are you might want to have the experiment submitted in an inactive or dormant state to be activated by the astronauts, and before return, shutting down the experiment before reintroduction to Earth gravity, and that's why 75% of experiments are biological in nature. It provides you the temperature controls. What temperature can you expect from the community to Houston, in storage in Houston, on the vehicle going to station, the temperature on station, the temperature on the return vehicle, and the temperature back to your community from Houston. So that's probably important. It tells you how to sterilize fluids and solids. You probably don't want mold and fungi going along for the ride, which can just destroy your biological experiments. So sterilization is really important. So everybody should get a sense that this mini laboratory operations page is absolutely vital for students before they start designing their experiment. Everybody with me on that?
Quick question there. When
Yeah.
I click that page, it says that the content is password protected. So,
Yeah, so the community program directors on September 3rd were sent 3 program start emails. Program start, and the request was go through these and give them out as appropriate. And so program start email number 1 needs to go to every student engaged in this program, and it provides really important information for how to start the program, which reinforces what I've been talking about today, and it includes all of the user IDs and passwords. So your community has those.
okay.
So who are you? What community are you with?
Metropolitan Community College.
So Metropolitan Community College is with
Pam.
Pam. So Pam,
We send them out to the mentors, but we'll send them out to our students.
students too. Okay, great. So okay, good. So now if we go back to Flight Opportunities Mission 21, the 3rd subpage is the Mission Patch Art and Design Competition page, which only it goes to your art, design, and history teachers because it provides everything they need to know to do the Mission Patch Art and Design competitions. So does everybody understand those 4 pages, Mission 21 and the 3 subpages? Cool. So now we go to teacher resources, and what you'll notice here is there's a teacher resources main page and 5 subpages. So these 6 pages are part of your curriculum. And before I take you through there, let me just do a quickie move over to the contact button. The contact button is how you, either faculty or students, submit questions to us. And it needs to be in writing. So if you submit it here, it will automatically be sent to the entire flight operations team, and they will know who to send the question to and have it answered. And we try to have that answered in less than 24 hours. So the contact button is important to get questions to us. If we go back to teacher resources and I hover over it, the 5 subpages are the flight experiment design competition page, the designing the flight experiment page, the document library, the 2 teachers how to move forward page, and a robust frequently asked questions page. The teacher resources page is where all of the curricular resources are summarized. That includes the Mission 21 main page and its subpages. So the teacher resources page is a really important starting point. It's where all of the curricular resources are summarized. So let's go to the teacher resources page right now. And what it tells you is that in section 1, there's technical assistance. If you have questions for us, you use the contact button, and there's a hot link to the contact button. Section 2 says this website, this is where we bring together all of the web page flavor of the curriculum in one place. And so the flight experiment design competition, the first subpage, is where you learn about how the competition works. That's important. If you go to the designing the flight experiment page, there's a little summary here. That's where you're going to find all of the storyline in experiment design that we had earlier. It's going to talk about classic experiment design and variables and an independent variable. It's going to talk about the role of you wanting to know the role of gravity in something. It's going to take you to the top of my mountain. It's going to take you into the elevator. It's going to show you the ping pong balls. It's all there. So that deeper understanding of why the astronauts are weightless, as well as classic experiment design, are on that page. And here is the Mission 21 main page, the critical timeline page, and the mini laboratory operations page. You don't care about Mission 20 and Mission 19. So do you see that section 2 is a summary of those curricular web pages? If we now go to number 3, it summarizes the document library, and there's a hot link. If you go to 4, it summarizes 2 teachers how to move forward and a hot link. And number 5, it summarizes the FAQ and a hot link. And so these subpages that I just walked through can be gotten to from the teacher and student resources main page by clicking on a hot link, or you can go and hover over teacher resources, and there's the flight experiment design competition page, the designing the flight experiment page, the document library, 2 teachers how to move forward, and the FAQ. So does everybody see the navigation here? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to select pages here. I already told you the flight experiment design competition page, overview of the competition. The designing the flight experiment page, that's where you find the entire microgravity, classic experiment design and microgravity experiment design discussions. Let's go to the document library and see what's there. So now it's all been updated as of 2 days ago for Mission 21. What you can do is go to section 1, which says general program documents. And what you'll have here is a downloadable 3-page overview of Mission 21 if you want it. It's called an at-a-glance program overview. With regard to the community program directors, you can download a congressional briefing document, which is something we leave behind on Capitol Hill when we brief congressional staffers. And it focuses on the strategic STEM objectives of this program and the impact to date, so the historical. So that's a good document. Section 2 is general program multimedia. So you can watch videos providing an overview of SSEP. You can read a feature article at Scientific American Frontiers called Not Your Grandma's Science Competition. There's even a PowerPoint here updated for Mission 21. So if you want to brief, I don't know, other instructors, other students about this program, if you want to do a briefing for school district art and design leadership about this program, the PowerPoint is a very effective multimedia presentation. Now you get to the Student Proposers Resource Library, which is password protected. So let's walk through this. There's a document called 2 Students Getting Started with Experiment Design, which is sort of like a primer on, hey, how do you design experiments? It's right there. You can download it. There's the microgravity science background document that provides an overview of 9 separate science disciplines appropriate for microgravity research and why. One of the 5 ways to get students thinking about what experiment they want to do. And there's the accompanying case studies document with examples of experiments in each of those disciplines. Here is a document that allows you to understand how to shut down biological experiments using fixatives like glutaraldehyde or formaldehyde. So we even have a document on that. Then there is a master list of experiment samples, which is that list of hundreds of fluids and solids that can be used for microgravity experiments. So it's another one of the 5 ways for students to get ideas of how to do their experiments. The list of problematic samples is actually the no-no list. The mini lab is made of certain materials, and certain fluids and solids can adversely interact with the mini lab. So think worst case, dissolving the mini lab and exposing the fluids and solids to the crew cabin on the International Space Station, posing a risk to the astronauts and the vehicle. And so this is the no-no list. If you come up with an experiment with fluids and solids, and then you have to look at the problematic samples list, because if it's on this list, you don't want to use them. And if you reach out to us, which is what it says on the problematic samples list, and say, you know, is there a potential substitution? Can you help us think about something else? We can help with that. Here is the actual flight experiment proposal guide itself, which is the template for the proposal. This is the background for teachers, but students are self-directed learners. So this background for teachers is for students too, because students are their own teachers. And there's a background to go with the proposal guide for students themselves. And since students are both teachers and students, both of these background documents are important for students. And in both of these documents is the proposal evaluation rubric, how the proposals are graded. So that's kind of important. And then for the flight team, the toxicologists at NASA Johnson Space Center require a lot of specificity for your fluids and solids. They need to know where the fluids and solids came from. They need to have material safety data sheets for the fluids and solids. So this specificity is for the flight team when we're going forward with flight safety review. So does everybody have a sense of what's in the document library? Now we can go to the Two Teachers How to Move Forward page. This is like such an important page. And let me tell you why. Look, we can give you documents in the document library. We can give you pages on the website that are part of the curriculum. You need to know all that stuff. But you come up with a problem right out of the gate. What's the order in which I'm supposed to be doing things? What do I read first? What do I read second? What is the logical flow for how to move through this program? You need a recipe that provides the logical flow through this program, and that's what this page does. It gives you a bulleted walk through the entire program, and every time there is a web page flavor of the curriculum, there's a hot link in that bullet. Whenever there is a document in the document library that's needed throughout this chronological flow, there's a hot link in the bullet. So does everybody understand the power of this page to lead you through the entire program? And at the very top, it says in section 1, the first thing you do out of the gate is read the home page and the More on SSEP page, those first 2 buttons, which is what I told you before. And then in purple text, it says, however, teachers need to concentrate on getting students moving on experiment design. So here is the key. All the information that specifically addresses the design of student experiments are all accessed through a careful read of the teacher and student resources page, the link labeled teacher resources in the top navigation banner, the teacher resources main page. And then it says, think of that page as your Grand Central Station for SSEP experiment design in the classroom. One of its subpages is the page you are reading now. So it says the teacher resources page is a summary of all of your resources. And one of its subpages is the page you're reading now, the Two Teachers How to Move Forward page. And then if you go to section 2, it says a proposed list of tasks and activities for SSEP launch and management provided in a reasonable order. And here is the bulleted walk through the entire curricular storyline in order. So does everybody understand this page? And then at the bottom, there is important advice to teachers in section 3. And I want to zero in on section 3.3. We urge all student teams to reach out to national researchers using Google Scholar Search. This is where that section earlier on is explained. It says, once you understand the discipline focus of your experiment, you need a researcher advisor who is an expert in that discipline. And so here's the link to Google Scholar Search, and it tells you how to do this. And it uses the planaria worm regeneration lab experiment as an example. And by the way, just so you know, we even have a template for a really nicely written email invitation that you can send to a potential researcher advisor, and that can be customized to your experiment. So if you send that out to, like I said, 20 researcher advisors, all you need is one to say yes. So does everybody understand the navigation here? Okay, now the last button I have to take you to, the 4th button, we looked at flight opportunities, we looked at teacher resources, we looked at contact. It's the community network website. And if we click on that, it'll say, you're about to leave the main website. Do you want to do that? And yeah, the answer is yes. So now I see I'm at a completely different website. And the way that I tell is the banner at the top is Space Shuttle Endeavour Against a Blue Earth. The website we came from has all the resources to do the program. This website is dedicated to all of the communities that have ever participated in SSEP. And if you go down here, you'll see a map of the world. Oh, John Hamill is updating that, so the map disappeared. But there's a map of the world showing where all the communities are with push pins. And if you click the plus sign here, what you will see are all of the communities listed mission by mission. And you have the ability to go and click on a community profile. And we have an update going on right now at the very top. But all of the communities in green are communities that participated more than once. And so you can go all the way down mission by mission to see all the communities that participated. And you can see, for instance, for mission 19, let's go over here, Hillsborough County, Florida, participated 12 times with mission 19. This is sort of like a cornerstone of their STEM curriculum. And if you go to the top and you go to communities and local partners and you hover over it, you can go to mission 19. And what you'll see are all of the mission 19 communities. And if you scroll down, you can go, say, I don't know, to Albany, New York, and it'll scroll down to Albany. It'll jump down to Albany, and it says there were 3 schools. And for experiment design and mission patches, here are the schools that participated. 600 grade 8 students participated, 50 proposals. I don't know why the mission patch competition is not listed here. And here are all the flight opportunities that they participated earlier on. And here are their community program directors and their email addresses. And you can read over 400 community profiles on this website because we've done over 400 community programs to date. So community profiles and local partners is one button. If you go to experiments selected for flight and you go to, say, mission 17, you will see all of the mission 17 communities listed. And if I go to, say, I don't know, University System of Maryland, in the state of Maryland, you can see a summary of their flight experiment. And it's the effect of microgravity and telomerase activity and efficiency. And I can't pronounce it because I'm not a biologist. And so here are the student investigators and the instructor that facilitated it. And here's a summary of their experiment. And so you can read a summary of over 400 experiments that were done under SSEP. So the experiment selected for flight button is where you can read all of those summaries. And if you go to communities and local partners and you click on the first button, there is a page dedicated to all undergraduate participation to date with all of the undergraduate institutions listed. And for each undergraduate institution, from their implementation plan is their strategic objectives in STEM education, why they're doing this program, their community program co-directors, and a summary of their flight experiments. So on this page, you learn everything there is to know about undergraduate participation to date. If you go to the mission patches page, and you click on, say, mission 16, I don't know why, but mission 16, you will see all of the communities for mission 16 that did the mission patch competitions, and you can see all of the patches that were selected for flight, and you can click on any patch and you can see it up close and personal. And under the community, under their patches, is a summary of how they did their mission patch competition. So for instance, this community had a total of 726 patch designs submitted. This community over here had 127 patch designs. And so you can read about every mission patch competition ever conducted under SSEP under this button. And if you then go to scientific return and reporting and you go to, say, mission 20, what you can watch is a YouTube video of every student team PowerPoint presentation ever conducted via SSEP at the conference. So if I go, for instance, to mission 13, what you'll see on the videos is a student team under a gray thing right above their heads. And the reason that thing is gray above their heads is that if I click on the main scientific return and reporting page, there's this really cool photograph. Many of the conferences take place at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., and the conference takes place under Space Shuttle Discovery, the real thing that launched the Hubble Space Telescope, among other things. And here is a team presenting, and the gray thing above their heads are the borosilicate glass thermal protection system tiles on the aft underbelly of the space shuttle. So there's a lot of information on the communities and what they accomplished here on this page. And if I go back to the main website, I want to take you to one last page, the Flight Opportunities button. The first subpage is the Launch and On-Orbit Operations History page. And what you can see here is, for instance, a video of the launch of SpaceX CRS-31, which carried the Mission 18 payload of experiments. And underneath that are the two astronauts that were part of SSEP. These are the two astronauts that operated the SSEP experiments for Mission 18. And you'll notice that there is a link to their bio and their social media accounts. And you might recognize Sunita Williams' name and Butch Wilmore's name. They are senior NASA astronauts, and they flew the Boeing Starliner on its maiden voyage with crew to the International Space Station. And Starliner had so many problems that NASA decided to return Starliner without these two astronauts and not put them at risk. And these are the two astronauts that stayed on station 9 months beyond when they were supposed to return. And this happened last year. And as you keep going down, you can see the launch of every SSEP mission and all the astronauts that participated in SSEP. And this page just keeps going down. And as you keep scrolling down the page, you'll get to the very bottom, which is we had our first payload on STS-134, the final flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour. And then the next payload was on STS-135, the final flight of Space Shuttle Atlantis, which is now on display at Kennedy Space Center. And STS-135 was also the final flight of the US Space Shuttle program. And then we transitioned to commercial vehicles. We were the only research payload on the first SpaceX Dragon flight. We bridged from shuttle operations to commercial space. And so this program is historic. And I show you this page because I want to reinforce the notion that this is the space program. This is the real thing. And we are inviting all of you into America's space program via SSEP. So does everybody understand what we covered today? I know it's been long, but this is the real space program. There's a lot of stuff to cover. We videotaped this, and I'm now done. Any questions? Any comments? I saw people smiling a lot, particularly with the experiment design, so that was good.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. Well, if there's no further questions, I'm going to say have a wonderful weekend. Kind of soak this up. Welcome to America's Space Program, and we're here for any questions that you might have. All right, everybody, take